I think excess verbiage is a real problem in writing. It's hard to say things concisely. What's the old saying? If I had more time, I would have written it shorter, or something like that.
Washington wrote a letter. The first president of the United States wrote a letter to his wife, and it was like kind of long. And he said, he's like ended it with my apologies, but if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter.
Yeah, right. It takes work to write a shorter letter, right? And to say the same thing, or the essence of the same thing. So I'll put that quote in here. Somebody reminds me. I am going to put this up as a PowerPoint. This is actually keynoted in the Mac, but I can turn it into a PowerPoint and I can upload it to the blog. Yeah, and I like this this quote. This is not about writing; it's about a design, but in general. But I think it's really good. A designer knows he's achieved perfection, not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. Okay? So I think that's what happens in good writing. You pare it down. You reduce it to its essence. And sometimes you go too far and you realize, oh, now it's not really communicating what I say. Then you do have to add it back in. Okay, so here's some things about confusion. There are a bunch of these on the web. I wasn't even supposed to be teaching this year because one of our teachers got sick and isn't here. So I have a lot of materials back in New York, but I don't have as many I don't have them with me, so I don't have as many examples for you. But there are a lot of these out here. These are kind of funny. You know, used cars. Why go elsewhere to be cheated? Come here first. Now that reads like if you come here, you're going to be cheated. Right? Hopefully that's not what the salesman meant, right? I mean, come here first. Don't bother to go to all those other places to be cheated. Right, dinner special, turkey, $2.35. Chicken or beef, $2.25. Children, $2. Right? I'll have a roasted child. Thank you very much. But you get the idea that these are very real. And they are cases where the person, they knew what they wanted to say, but it came out wrong. Okay, and don't let worry kill you. Let the church help. Let the church help kill you is how that could be read, right? So again, there are things, just examples where we get horribly misunderstood. So how can we make an article flow better? Well, in terms of spelling, spell check it. Easy thing to do, takes a couple of seconds. But you also need to proofread it. You need to go through it yourself because, as I think you all know, spell checks don't find everything, right? And if you misspell a word, but your misspelling is a word in their dictionary, it's not going to catch it, right? And sometimes when we're typing fast, I mean, I know the difference between there, or but I might type the wrong one because I'm just going fast and I'm hearing it phonetically in my head and I'm not thinking. So that's a basic. Avoid repeatedly using the same word. Like, if you use one adjective to describe something in one sentence, don't use the exact same adjective in the next sentence. You need some variety. It just gets a little boring and repetitious if you don't do that. Just make sure. Sometimes, again, people sometimes, maybe it comes from school writing where you're told this has to be a 2-page paper, right? Then you're trying to fill 2 pages, right? So, well, I only have about half a page worth of stuff to say, so I start saying it in 5 different ways. Okay. Well, you're in charge of your blog and everything you write outside of school, so don't do that. Don't and look at it and say, this is part of making it efficient. Did I really say this? Did I already say this? Or could these 3 sentences say the same thing in one sentence? I mean, if you look at a lot of writing, it is like that. again, it needs to flow. Organize your argument logically in terms of sentences and paragraphs. That's up to you. I'm not, you know, there's no real rules about this that I would impose on anybody, you know, how many sentences in a paragraph, but you should have a feel. For me, it's a feel, you know, and that a paragraph, I just feel when it's time to move on to another paragraph, right? I mean, part of it is the way it looks on the page, and on the web you tend to want the paragraphs to be shorter, you want a little more space because it's harder to follow the line, but just in terms of this chunk of thought leads to this chunk of thought, leads to this chunk of thought, that somehow it flows. And then challenge yourself to say what you have to say in fewer words, count them. I've sometimes done things maybe for a grant application or something, and then I found out, oh, I'm only allowed 300 words, and I checked the word count, right? Most, probably all word processing programs these days have a word count feature. Well, I wrote 412 words. I can't possibly say this in 300, except I have to. I don't have a choice. So I go back and I write it in 300. I look at the new version. Oh, it's a lot better, right? And if I hadn't been forced to go from 400 to 300, I would never have done it, probably, you know? And then I find out, oh, yeah. We fall in love with our own words a lot, you know? I wrote it, it must be good. And in a way, I want you to fall in love with your own words to a certain extent, but still, you know, there's that compromise between your expressiveness and, you know, people actually reading your expressiveness.